trash truck is currently outside, but I tried to post a video earlier and then I had that smartwatch on and it completely ruined the recording of my video. So the sound wasn't there. But basically, what I was saying was this: it appears that the vast majority of people that are in these relationships are severely unhealthy. They haven't done the work, they don't care to, they take on relationships like binkies for their need for basically soothing, external validation, et cetera, et cetera. And so I was also talking about how I kind of got in straight people's business a little bit, because there are a lot of women that have become educated and they've been taking care of themselves. They're enjoying the peace. They don't have to go for the okie doke of what society in the past has said about women. Just like with children, women are seen but are not heard. Women could not vote, et cetera, et cetera. So their very livelihood depended on a man. And even in those days, if you were a lesbian, you were most likely married to a man because that was survival. Like, that is social Darwinism. And a lot of women don't have to deal with that anymore. They have their educations. They don't need to be financially taken care of by a man. Men are not protectors anymore. We've had so many examples of how men have failed even that role as protectors, even for their own daughters. And so these women are living in their power and choosing better, because that was another thing that the men threw at them. They said, choose better. And I'm not saying that there's not good men out there that are self-actualized, that would make great, counterparts to these women. But that is the reality. And then in my community, it goes the same. I see so many people get out of one, and they don't even realize they're repeating the same patterns over and over. And they are so terribly afraid of being alone. And this is the vast majority of people with this ideology. They get in one relationship and they go to another one. And the idea of just learning about themselves and being uncomfortable for a little bit is so terrifying. It's literally like a fish out of water. Okay, they do not want to do that. They want the comfort of always having someone else to divide the emotional, psychological, mental labor onto, offset it so that they can feel better about themselves. And that is terribly unhealthy. But I also recognize that there are healthy relational dynamics and healthy people, but that is not the status quo. Our society pushes for collaboration, even at the detriment of yourself, your mental health. And then they look to the side. But I do see that things are becoming a lot more evolved in terms of people's attitudes and recognizing the flaws in our relational systems, because we are human beings and we evolve as we gain more information about the way that we process, move, and collaborate with others in our society. So this is a good thing, but it is so funny how just looking at these women, and I am also an example of that, the peace that you have is not worth giving up. The freedom of being able to go and just enjoy whatever you want without having someone counter that with their negative toxic energy, their resistance, them not being on the same page, and taking the time to really have those standards to really vet people. Because if you really love yourself, it reflects in the relationships that you allow into your life, friendships. And that goes to say also, because I fell into this trap for a long time, up until recently, where my friendships were not going in both directions. I had a lot of people that were really just low-key very toxic, always throwing shade at me, putting me down, and wanting me to stay at certain levels. And truth be known, a lot of them were a part of the downfall, closing off access to doorways by means of manipulation, gossip, smear campaigns, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, because they believed that I was this person that wanted attention. But that wasn't what I believed, because I am very introverted, so I would stay off into the corner. But they were always upset that I always got a lot of attention, and so they stopped inviting me to places, and they always would say the most horrible things to me, just unprovoked. And I was always very kind to them, always accommodating with my time, emotional support for them. And when it came to me, none of that was reciprocated back. And so that taught me that even in my friendships, I also need to be mindful, and that I have the right and I have the entitlement to pick and choose wisely. So here I am. Having happy Labor Day to you guys. I'm gonna, look at this. I've been collecting these wine bottles, but I'm gonna tell you something about this bottle of wine. And that bottle of wine has been empty for forever and a day. But it's beautiful. I like the way it looks on my table. I'm also doing some cleaning and some dusting. And then I want something amazing for dinner. So happy Labor Day to you guys. Have a wonderful one, and cheers.